Oh, oh, this is great. Look how many people we have here. So if you want to just drop, for those of you who have just come in, you please feel free to drop your affiliation and any interests you might have in why you're here today. My name is Pamela Stenberg, and I am the co-chair of the City College PSC CUNY chapter. I'm also one of the people on our EJ, the CCNY PSC EJ committee, and we work together every Wednesday morning, 9:30 to 10:30, to put together panel presentations and to address some of the issues that are happening here on the campus. And we welcome you. I'll give you the link for that, but we welcome you to join us. And it's it's an open committee. And as I said, we make decisions for the panels. And we have this panel happening today. And then we have another one, which will be on April 11th, and that'll be in person. But I would like to turn this over now to Catherine Glad-Silverman. And she will be, oh, I'm sorry, I have to share the Jamboard first. All right, so I'm going to stop the share now on the agenda, and I'm going to share the Jamboard. If you'd like to contribute to that, that will be great. We started, we're picking up from where we were last year. We've started the Jamboard, but please answer any of the questions on the Jamboard, and we would totally appreciate that. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Catherine. And thank you very much for being here today. We really appreciate your attention.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for joining the PSC CCNY Environmental Justice Working Group. Theme of a lot of our events over the last year have been decarbonizing City College's campus and the implications for both campus and community environmental justice as a result of decarbonization. And one of the reasons that's been a big theme is because of the work that's really been pioneered by Yael Amron, who's joining us today. Yael is a graduate student in the sustainability program and also an energy consultant in her professional life. And Yael, together with her capstone team working with Professor Stephanie Rose on campus decarbonization last year, really worked to mobilize a group of students around these issues. And a lot of that work is continuing this year. So we will first hear from Yael on her work from last year and this campus movement. And I'll turn it over to her now.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Let me just figure out how to start my presentation. Give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, let's see. If I'm a presenter.
Yeah, I made you a co-host.
Okay, so let's do that. Share. Okie dokie. Oops. Okay, so some of you may have seen some of these slides from last year, but over the course of 2 semesters in 2022-23, myself, Stephanie Rose, and some student colleagues of mine put together a year-long capstone project where we tried to understand what it would look like for the school to take into account sustainability issues all throughout the campus. And we called this project Decarbonizing CCNY. So what motivated us? I know everyone on this call obviously is familiar with what's going on in the world. This is not new. This is just a picture of a pretty poignant article in the New York Times. Earth is nearing the tipping point for a hot future. This was from March 21st, 2023. You know, if as we came together as a student group, we felt that you know, if the school as such a large institution wasn't doing anything, or if it was, we didn't know about it, we wanted to figure out what the steps would be in order to understand how the school could become a more sustainable university. Let's go to the next slide. Here were some of our objectives as we began our group year-long project. We wanted to research and develop plans for sustainability improvements on the college. We wanted to come up and create coalitions of different stakeholders throughout the campus. And we wanted to also educate the City College community, and that's exactly why we're all in this Zoom call today. And actually, you know, it's amazing that I have this opportunity to talk to everyone here. This is you know, the project spanned an entire year. We achieved many different things throughout that year. You know, we started just coming together as a group, and what we realized in the very beginning of the project was that while some CUNY schools do have sustainability plans that outline, based on different objectives, what the school is doing in order to become more sustainable, City College didn't have that. So we came together, and as you'll see in a few slides, we did some research on what it would look like for the school to put together a sustainability plan. And throughout the year, we through different events, we performed and went through different projects that allowed us to build out some of the ideas and some of the what do I want to call them? Let's go to this next page. Sorry, some of the pillars that we put together in our sustainability plan. So again, we came up with this plan. This plan is based on Columbia University's plan. They actually gave us the go-ahead so that we didn't have to start from scratch to look at their plan, to see how they had outlined what it would look like to become a more sustainable school, and to then, you know, cater our plan towards City College based on what they had done. So we didn't need to start all from the beginning. And once we had come up with this proposed plan, where you see there are these 8 different pillars: responsible materials management, campus energy, culture change, and campus as a living laboratory, water conservation, etc. You can see them here. We then decided to try and build out some of those pillars so that, in essence, we had started the project for the school. So if the school decided to adapt this sustainability plan as a template, you know, we had done some of the work for them. Oops, wrong direction. Okay, so in the first pillar, which was responsible materials management, we did a couple of things throughout the year. One of the big projects that we accomplished was completing a campus waste audit. We also worked on improving the recycling practices on the campus. Let me go here. So, you know, as students, I'm sure that you're familiar with the areas where the trash cans are placed throughout the different buildings. And as you can see here, we went around and we took an inventory of what they looked like, and ended up finding that there wasn't really a cohesive can throughout the campus, which we felt created some confusion. You know, where do you put your recycling? Where do you put your paper? Where do you put your cans? Where do you put your glass, etc.? And we decided to try and make this a little bit more cohesive. And this is how things looked at the end of the project. So as you can see, we labeled all of the trash cans with the recycling stickers that were relevant to each type of can. And what we found at the end of this project was, and after doing a waste audit, was that the garbage that was then placed in each bin was much more more specific than it had been previously to those bins. You can see here some of the pictures of what we found. And the hope is, within each pillar there we have, and I can't lay it all out here today, but there are additional goals on how the school can follow up and do more projects within the pillar. So for instance, in waste management, we hope that the school has come up with a single-use plastics plan, and we hope that that plan can then get rid of the single-use plastics that are currently being used in Benny's Cafe. Along the lines of campus energy, we decided to look at two things. We first and foremost had many meetings with the facility staff on the campus to try and understand what the school is currently doing in relation to campus energy. What kind of lights does the campus use? What do the systems look like within the building? And are there projects in place or that have been done that are taking into account sustainability? And the exciting thing is there have been many projects that have been completed in that realm, and we also found that there are things that the school can do better and implement in order to save more energy in the long run. We specifically looked at what that looked like for lighting and also for the potential of installing solar on the campus. This is a short slide of things that had been already in place. Variable frequency driver upgrades. There was consideration, as the school hasn't yet completed a full upgrade of its lighting to LED lights, which use the least amount of energy. And now under in the works is a project to actually replace all of the lighting throughout the buildings on campus. The Knack and Marshak building have already been upgraded, so that's really great. And then we also looked at what might a solar project look like. And while we were doing some research on this and also talking to some of the city representatives within the government who we thought want to commit funding to help the school implement a project like this, we found out that there was a professor within on the campus. His name is Professor Ahmed Mohammed, who had already done all of the research on creating or installing solar on the Knack parking lot, and he was working with NYPA to get that project implemented. So here, this first picture here comes solar. This was the idea that we had kind of started with. We worked with a solar company to see if they could spec out what a plan might look like. But we then found out on the right-hand side of the page that a plan was in place. And in addition to the plan being in place, the plan will, the solar panels that are now green lighted to be implemented, and hopefully you'll see them by the end of 2024, although that might be that timeline might be a little bit short. We'll see. They're going to be paired with a very special room within the Steinman building where students will be able to train on how to use them. And lastly, we also worked on the pillar within the sustainability plan that we came up with called Culture Change in Campus as a Living Lab. And some of the things that we did while we were working on this pillar were throwing an event called Decarbonizing CCNY, how we can lead the way. This event, we had the head of sustainability of Columbia come in and talk to about 100 or so students on how Columbia University implemented its sustainability plan. We threw some additional events. One was called Earth Week Sustainability Action Summit. And then we had a really awesome PSA service announcement screening event where students created different PSAs that were then posted throughout the school on some of the TVs that you see around, and then specifically at this event where there were many students that attended. And excitingly, this event will continue on, and I'm not sure exactly what the date is, but it's coming up soon. So if that's something you're interested in, you'll definitely want to check it out. Here are just some these pictures on the right hand side of the screen. These are some of the PSAs that were created, that were shown on the screens throughout the school. So, you know, a PSA: what do you do with your coffee cup? You know, which garbage can are you supposed to throw it into? Or, you know, join our sustainability council. One of the exciting things, actually, let me just go to the next page. The exciting things that we achieved was re-implementing the Sustainability Council that had kind of gone on a hiatus during COVID. So we, you know, after talking to facilities management and a bunch of different players throughout the campus, we showed them how interested we were in creating this council in order to continue the conversation about projects throughout the school, potentially implementing our plan for sustainability for the school. And we had a first meeting on April 24th. We had follow-up meetings after that, and another meeting is coming up at the end of March. And so, the goal of all of this, and again, why everyone is here today, is that the school continues on this path of, marking for the record how important sustainability is, for the school in general as a institution, a really big and important institution in New York City. And we hope that with your interest, either you'll participate in some of the Sustainability Council meetings, or you'll continue to join these events, or you'll have ideas on what the school can do in order to become an institution where students know that the way that the teachers and everyone on campus is, or how everyone is focused is based on how we're going to make the world a better place. And we hope that we can start with you and establish some of these other projects that are in the works. And with that, I leave it open to any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you so much, Yael. Pam, should we break for questions for a moment?
Yeah, that would be great.
If you have a question or comment for Yael, please feel free to just unmute yourself, or if you prefer, you can type it in the chat.
I did see a question earlier, which was, it said, as far as Lucas had, Hara had said that that the all the trash was combined regardless of containers. Do you have any information on that?
So, okay, I also see Lucas's question about the carbon footprint and the campus temperature stuff. Let me reply to that one first. So Lucas wanted to know, I'm just going to read it quickly. Lucas, the vast majority of energy consumption, carbon footprint, is due to heating and cooling. That's absolutely correct. Target temperatures throughout the campus are set too low in the summer and too high in the winter, in violation of city guidelines. Facilities were to follow the city guidelines, people would revolt. What is needed is a cultural change, both among staff, faculty, students, and in the facilities management. So Lucas, I could not agree with you more. I don't know about the settings being in violation of the city guidelines. The city guidelines state that when the temperature outside goes below 55 degrees between certain dates within the quote unquote winter, I don't have them at the top of my head, but it's starting, I believe, at the end of October. In any event, the point is the school does have a BMS system. I don't, and building, BMS system, for those who don't know, is a building management system. That system is connected to the building's boilers and all of the heating and cooling within the building. And it does show, how frequently the systems are running. I think that there are some buildings that have some temperature sensors within the classrooms, but there are not a lot of classrooms that have that. And I'm not certain that the system also takes into account those temperatures. So a lot of times buildings in New York City, in order to save energy, will actually install a computer on the boiler that takes into account both outdoor temperature and indoor temperature, so that if it is cold, below that New York City requirement of turning the heat on outside, if it is too hot in the building, and there are also stipulations on what the temperature needs to be within the units, the boiler will not turn on. So it might be cold outside, but the units might be 80 degrees. So the boiler should not be turning on in that situation. And there are controls that can be installed in buildings that do that. And I know Michael Bobker is on this call, and I don't mean to call you out, Michael, but Michael knows how every system on the campus operates. And the campus has a very, very, it's just systems that, I am not any kind of expert on. And I know that it's very hard to control them. So there may be options that the school can take into consideration to help with the problem that you are calling out there, Lucas. I'm no expert on what exactly that system would look like, because I don't know what the system that's creating heat and cooling in the buildings looks like. I didn't see the other question from Lucas, but if I'm happy to.
I just want to let you know that we've been having a problem unmuting. So just so you know, I'm trying to help him. But if you can't unmute and you have a question, then definitely drop it in the chat.
And Michael, if you're welcome to jump in, I called your name. I see you're there.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. So Lucas, this is a very good question, and it is true about the campus. It's also not unique to the campus. It's generally true for New York City and a lot of other cities and places, especially overcooling. I find particularly onerous and obnoxious. The campus does have building management system, although the extent of the monitoring of individual space conditions is limited. Some buildings, we have space by space thermostats and temperature indications. In other buildings, the thermostats are still older pneumatics, and we don't have any centralized monitoring of those. So there are problems both in technology and, you're correct, in culture.
I see somebody's in Spitzer right now shivering.
The temperature situation is actually what prompted me to start this project. So, I was sitting, I don't remember exactly what room at this point, but I was sitting in a room, and it was the winter, and I was sweating, and thought, this doesn't seem right. In any event, let's see what some of these other questions are. I'm pretty sure a lot of New York City recycling plants offer single stream recycling, where all of the recycling is taken together and then sorted out of their plants. Okay, so yes, that's true. We've talked to this when we were working on the audit that we did talk to the facility staff about that. It's just not something that they're willing to change. They have separate units outside of the school in the back of one of the buildings where they separate out the trash. And they have, I think the city comes and picks it up. They're not changing that.
Yeah, we have some comments in there. That waste streams are separated as required. Okay. Yeah, I guess there's some question about that. So, we should address that at some point. Catherine, I think we're done with the questions. Catherine, do you want to take the next group?
Sure, I can introduce the next team. Thank you so much, Yael, again for joining us and for answering questions. And now we'll zoom out a little bit and also fast forward to this year's work that sustainability students are completing. And we have a capstone team here who's working with Michael Bobker, the director of the Building Performance Lab, on the West Harlem Energy Proposal. So with implications for campus decarbonization as well as community decarbonization. And so I will turn it over to Chloe, Lenko, Arif, and Jonathan, who will introduce us to their project and maybe a few ways for students to get involved. Are you all able to share your screen, whomever is doing so, or do I need to make you a co-host?
I can try now to see if we can share. Give me one moment.
Who was speaking? I will definitely just make you a co-host. Is that Jonathan?
Yeah, that was Jonathan.
Okay, there. Okay, there you go.
Don't judge me for the amount of tabs open. The brain doesn't turn off. All right. All right. Am I muted? I'm not muted, right? Everyone
Here
can.
you
All right, cool. Hello, everyone. So, as Catherine was saying, we're part of Michael Bobker's capstone group, working on the West Energy Harlem proposal. Myself, Arif, Lenko, and Chloe. And this was a Mentimeter poll that would be proposed to any individual, so it could be student bodies or anyone in the neighborhood community that may not be as knowledgeable about microgrids. And might take a while, but we don't have to do this poll now unless my team feels otherwise.
No, it's good.
All right, cool. All right, so I'll move on. Sorry, that was a good as in no poll, right?
Yeah, no poll.
All right, cool, thank you. So just a brief background context about the West Harlem Energy Proposal. So we'll be operating as a retrofit lab, aiming to establish if it's a physical microgrid, great, but also a virtual microgrid in West Harlem. We'll be targeting buildings that are 10,000 square feet or more. Goes in line with recent local laws that were established. And these residential buildings are going to have energy retrofits that not only optimize energy use, but also improve safety of the people in the community. And hopefully we can create, a decentralized energy system that will then enhance and optimize grid resilience as well as climate resilience, so that some of the environmental injustices that folks in West Harlem face could be mitigated. And another component is, of course, finding funding for all of these great ideas that we have and hope to implement. And now I'll pass it over to Chloe. Oh, sorry. Well, before I pass it
you can stay on that. So
Yeah.
Our West Harlem Energy Proposal is going to be incorporating different areas. So we're going to be looking into obviously what Jonathan was saying with retrofits, the energy supply with decentralization, grid resilience, climate resilience, looking into electrifying appliances, no longer looking to stay on gas, and obviously all of that comes with a cost. So looking at investment opportunities and finance. So if you could go on the next slide, please. So I'm just going to give a quick brief about, for those who don't know about NFIT. So this is the passive house certificate for retrofits. We're not going to be working towards the passive house standard, but for the meantime, it's a great standard to work towards. So it is the voluntary standard for high efficiency retrofits, which is based on the typical passive house components. And passive house buildings put the principles into practice, creating safe, resilient, comfortable, and energy efficient structures, which can range obviously from commercial to residential to multifamily. Multifamily is the main sort of structures that we will be looking into. And what this can achieve is, significant energy savings between, 75 to 90% compared to an unrefurbished or non-passive house refurbishment, an increase in insulation and air tightness, which can improve the comfort, a consistent supply of, fresh air throughout the buildings. It means higher quality and more hygienic air, improved structural integrity of the buildings, lowering the costs to heat and cool these buildings thanks to the retained heat and reduced resilience on, the electrical gas heating, and, can improve the price of the property as well. So the next slide.
Thank you, Chloe. So moving from NFIT into electrification of West Harlem. So what is electrification, right? So you're replacing technologies that rely on non-renewable resources, such as fossil fuel and things harmful for the environment, and replacing them with electric equipment, technologies, or appliances in this case. So we're going to focus on gas to electric stove conversion, since our capstone focuses on residential buildings only. So there's a bit of controversy with gas to electric stove conversion because of cost and the actual benefit to energy use and reduction. However, it's important to note that retrofits also increase safety in a community. So for example, if gas stoves are removed, replaced with electric stoves, the indoor air quality of that space will improve because there are less harmful fumes and gases being emitted. There's a reduction in nitrous oxides. Of course, there's carbon monoxide that we all know about. And there are other indoor air contaminants that can further exacerbate issues of respiratory illnesses in West Harlem and Upper Manhattan as a whole. So this map just shows you see the scale on the right. Dark green, 80% of households that still use natural gas. And if you can see my mouse, we're circling New York right here. We are in that dark green section. So it's a great avenue as far as opportunities to electrify and improve conditions in New York. And we'll pass it on to Arif.
Hi, I'm Arif. From things that Jonathan said, electric appliance that talk to the grid will be part of thing that I'm gonna say is DERMS. So DERMS stand for Distributed Energy Resource Management Systems. It is a software platform that used to manage a group of distributed energy resources like PV panels, batteries, utilities, wind turbines, and electric vehicles. So the concept of DERM is revolve around when we produce an energy and consume it. You guys might heard the word prosumer. So DERMs are responsible for collecting data and analyzing it to forecast demand to supply the needs. Next slide, please. Okay, so the device in DERMS, there's three main things that is the components of DERMS. The first one is sensors such as temperature sensors, humidity sensors, motion sensors, and so on. So they detect a different data and collect it to analyze. Next is the smart meters that can receive data from sensors and display it to let you guys know what the temperature is right now. And the third one is software that used to calculate and receive the data. And when it combined to the last one is artificial intelligence, it helped to forecast and analyze user behavior to comply with demand response requirements. And the operation of the cycle of them is started from generating energies such as the source from like PV panels, the great batteries, and other renewable sources. And then it optimized and control it and the energy flow, ensuring efficient utilization of available resources. And then it's distributed to loads such as electric appliance in household. And last one is you use AI and software to analyze data to calculate and forecast the energy demand for the next cycle. So yeah, this is terms. We pass to the financials.
Guys, yeah, so my colleagues have explained the whole project and all the aspects of it, but all of it needs to be funded. We need the money to be able to do it. So I'm personally looking into ways of making that happen. There's a whole new sphere of green finance out there that's new to me at least, and we have a bunch of options. Mainly here in New York, you have New York Green Bank, and you have NYSEC. These are the two major players in the game. They are the ones that can provide the most funding for your project. They've got a bunch of options for you to look at, especially NYSEC. They've got options including PACE financing. So PACE financing is a very consumer-friendly way of managing these funds, these projects. Then we also have an option of looking at green bonds, which could be more private, having private investors buy up these green bonds that can fund these kind of projects. The thing that the portion that we're looking at now is that we're discussing whether these financing options are needed for this big project. Like, do we have a big loan that is given to us by one of these banks, New York Green Bank or NYSEC, or do we find a way to bundle financing for smaller independent stakeholders? Or do we do both? Do we try and go to NYSEC and say, listen, we want to start this project and have it run phase by phase. So we want to start off by having this amount and that amount given to us in the beginning. So yeah, like we said, we've been talking to Michael Bobker and he's been helping us out a lot. And just yesterday, we spoke a lot about how this financial packaging solution could help us limit choices being made in the project. And yeah, so overall, there's a lot of information out there about this and a lot of information that we have to work through. But as we're going through the project, we'll start to realize which options work best for us. And once we do some cost analysis and so on, they'll become a bit more clear. And then, yeah, to conclude, I'll send it back to Jonathan to talk about social.
Okay, thank you, Lanko. So as you have all heard, we went from EnerFit, so we're talking retrofits, into electrification, into electric appliances and technologies communicating across a grid, as well as how to finance all this, because a very important part as well. But a very central component to this, I just want to talk on social aspects for a moment. So it's important to think of what the surrounding community like actually needs from these retrofits, right? Climate resilience, so being able to respond to extreme weather conditions and whatnot, and having heat pumps in residential buildings and electric stoves so that people don't leave a gas stove open overnight because there's not sufficient heating due to an extreme weather condition, things like that, you know, making sure that these retrofits are very practical. That is on the resilient side of it, just to make sure the retrofits are serving the community. However, as far as community engagement, you might see us dancing pretty soon, because one great idea is to come up with a social media account for this this lab that we're working towards, right? That's a great way to get people engaged. The trends might be a little corny, but the message isn't, so that's always a good thing. On top of that, there are already organizations such as We Act and Silicon Harlem that are active in West Harlem. So forums for some of their workshops that they have, and also just being able to, attending their workshops as forums to divulge information to the community is important. We also want to make sure that the information is accessible in multiple languages, because you have to make sure the information can be received. You can't just step in and develop without having a more empathetic approach. So hoping for pamphlets, community communication, and as Yael showed, those like assemblies were very effective. It's great to have people in the room, have everybody engaged and attentive about a goal. So yeah, that's to round out social aspects. And that is the capstone that we are all diligently working on. And if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to let us know.
Catherine, I don't know if, sorry, I don't know if Pam asked me to introduce Ashley. I don't know if we want to maybe wait for questions or if we were doing them
Yeah,
now.
we can
Wait,
pause
yeah.
for questions.
Because I know actually Ashley has to leave in 5 minutes, so I'm going to really quickly introduce Ashley and give you, and we can
Okay.
hear his remarks, and then we'll come back to the questions.
Okay, we can come back.
Okay, yeah.
Ashley Dawson's a professor of postcolonial studies in the English department at the Graduate Center and the College of Staten Island. He's also an activist with the Public Power New York campaign and the founder of the Public Power Observatory. Ashley's going to speak a little bit about activism and his work and kind of how to encourage students at City College and broadly across CUNY to engage in forms of resistance. And I know his time's limited, so I'm going to turn it over to him. Thanks, Ashley.
Hi, Ali. Thanks so much for that introduction. It's great to meet you all. So good to find out about the incredible work you're doing up at CCNY. So just to fill in a little bit more what Ali said, I'm a professor of environmental and energy humanities working at College of Staten Island and the Graduate Center, but also an activist with Public Power New York. And our campaign has been fighting for 4 years for public power. The argument being that the existing for-profit forms of power not only gouge people with rates that are way too high, increasing poverty in a significant way, but also that they are working against energy transition. So last spring, we had a big victory. We got the Build Public Renewables Act passed. We're almost at the 1-year anniversary. And, we had to really take on very powerful vested interests to get that act passed. And we had to create a really great coalition of environmental justice groups, labor unions, including our own union, the PSC, which was one of the first unions to sign on to back the Build Public Renewables Act, and citizen activists and socialists around the state. So we got Build Public Renewables passed, which basically mandates the New York Power Authority, which provides power to CUNY campuses, SUNY campuses, NYCHA houses. It's a really important alternative, which was set up in the 1930s under FDR to provide public power to the people of New York State. And so Build Public Renewables Act mandates NYPA to build out public renewables when the private sector isn't doing it. And as I'm sure many of you know, we have a mandated energy transition. The Climate Act of 2019 mandated 70% renewables by 2030. And we are definitely not on track to make that goal. Just this autumn, a whole series of contracts that the state had gotten signed through NYSERDA in 2022, 2023 were all canceled by big for-profit renewables companies because they weren't getting enough money out of ratepayers for those contracts. So we really have a big fight on our hands. And it's not just against the private power companies. It's also to get NYPA to do what it's now legally mandated to do, because, there's a kind of revolving door between for-profit energy developers and some people in the public sector. So our campaign has shifted from pushing for the passage of this legislation to really trying to mobilize NYPA to do what it's now mandated to do. And we feel very strongly that CUNY and SUNY campuses could be the kind of linchpin and experimental lab where this massive build out could happen. NYPA already, as I said, provides power to our campuses. But we need NYPA to really step up. We need massive projects. So, I applaud you all for all the work you've been doing at CCNY, sort of understanding what the lay of the land is. Super valuable work. But I would also encourage you to connect with me, connect with the Public Power Campaign, and to think really, really ambitiously. We need to turn spaces like CCNY into centers for energy generation. We need to totally decarbonize them, but we also need to make them into hubs for district energy storage and provision. And we need to get NYPA to do that. And doing that will also, of course, require the rebuilding of a lot of our physical infrastructure, because as I'm sure you all know, a lot of our buildings are in terrible shape. I mean, literally, they're falling down. So, what does it mean to plan to put solar panels on top of a building where the roof is leaking the whole time and is about to collapse, right? So we really need to figure out ways to massively upgrade our infrastructure and to use CUNY and SUNY campuses as laboratories, as I said, but also to kind of get the message out to surrounding communities and really engage people in the struggle for energy democracy and for transformation of our cities and of our state. So, I'm working with the folks in the Public Power Campaign, and I hope to connect with all of you about how we're going to do this and how we're really going to put ourselves in the kind of cutting edge of this massive transformation, which we all need. So I have obviously a lot more to say, but I'll stop here for interest of time and encourage you all to really connect with me. I'll put my email address in the chat, and I'll also put links to the Public Power New York campaign, which, it would be really great if folks got involved with. We really need as many activists in this campaign as possible. We also need lots of professors. As far as I know, I've been the only academic in the campaign the entire time that it's existed for 4 years. We need engineers, we need architects, we need people who can crunch numbers and understand how these things work. But we also just need people who don't want the planet to go up in flames and care about their communities and about fighting energy poverty and injustice and all the kind of toxicity that's located in communities like the Harlem community. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And I really look forward to carrying the conversation forward in the future with all of you.
Thanks, Ashley. I know there's questions. I see lots of things. If you can unmute yourself, please do. If you can't, drop it in the chat. I heard Theomara shared that Marilyn Gunner is working on something related. I don't know if she's involved with your project. Okay.
Whose project? Sorry. No, so she's Marilyn Gunner is a physicist on campus, and I know she's worked with using algae as an energy source. So I know somebody was asking about that. So that's why I put that in there. But I was told that it's too expensive. But somebody might want to reach out to her and find out a little more if you guys are interested.
Yeah. And Ali says he's having problems with his is the problem that you can't unmute yourself? And we seem to be having that problem.
I'm back.
Oh,
No, I couldn't hear. And anyway, it's fine.
There you are. Great. Okay. So what we wanted to ask everyone to do now is to talk about, to share on the Jamboard, and I will share that on the screen, some of their questions and some of their thoughts. Hold on a second. I'm just getting I'm putting that back in the chat, and we can share. Oh, there it is. Okay. We've been collecting the Jamboard for a while now, so I'm going to share that on screen. And we've already had some additions to it. Okay, Ali came back in the room. All right. And let me just share that. I love how seamlessly this moves. All right, so if you could add your questions or comments. This is the one to Daniela Piper, and she will be
provide a little bit more context to these as well, to these questions.
Yeah, sure. I can provide some context. Sorry about that. I just switched devices, so I don't think I'm having the same problem anymore. I guess we wanted to kind of, get your thoughts and ideas about this carbon decarbonization leadership program. The goal in part of today was to maybe have invited someone who could explain a little bit more about, I don't know, things like the priorities, goals, or implementation of the program. So I guess the goal of the Jamboard is to kind of get your thoughts about what questions you might have potentially related to those. I don't know, I listed those broad categories, right, as things that you might have questions about, and those yellow stickies as places to put your questions. I can go through and organize and kind of, maybe like think about how to make this an effective like visual diagram at some point in time. But if you have questions or comments about like what a decarbonization leadership program is, the short description is linked in the agenda. But I guess, more broadly, what would be priorities or goals that you would have, and how would you see this being implemented at our campus? And then I guess the second Jamboard was to get your ideas about demands that we might articulate for decarbonization leadership at CUNY. So I guess there's similar questions, right? Well, one is a question about like what questions you would have for this person about this program, right, that you might be interested in. And the other one is more about kind of what are things that you would want to articulate as your own goals, demands, priorities for this program. I guess my goal also is to get your feedback today, and then maybe kind of work on this to create a better diagram, and maybe open this up for further comment at some point in time. So just whatever you can contribute would be helpful in terms of trying to think through, how to frame these questions and what we'd like to see to NYPA.
Thanks, Ali. I do want to make a comment that, it seems that what's been, one of the things that has been so prevalent in this meeting is really talking about garbage. And, a lot of people are concerned, obviously, with the way it's being disposed of. And, we should begin to even think about how we can start to address that issue. It's, it's not just a campaign of public awareness, but it's also an assurance from the college, who, that they are doing everything they can to do the correct waste stream, to have it recycled. I mean, I saw the comments about the back of Spitzer being, the garbage can, the garbage disposal in Spitzer being having all forms of trash there. And I think that that's one of the things, this is the PSC, and one of the things we can bring to labor management is specifically that kind of question. It's like, why is this happening in the waste stream? But the other thing is that, we can we can organize around that together to make people aware and to be more active in this particular issue. I mean, I know Lucas was talking about it and a couple of other people. And if you're interested in trying to work on something like that, it would be really helpful if you come to the Wednesday morning at 9:30 meetings. Every Wednesday morning at 9:30 we meet. I said this at the beginning, I'll say this again at the end. And we welcome all of you, any of you, to come and meet with us to discuss the issues that are important to you. But I think organizing around this, getting people active and interested is really, around your issues is really important part of this whole process of moving, as Ashley said, moving people towards towards more consciousness about what they're doing. So, so I'm going to that end, I am going to put in the link to our Wednesday morning Zooms. Right now we are planning the meetings. We're planning our climate summit. And if Catherine or Ali, if you want to say more about that, that'd be great. But we do meet every single Wednesday morning at 9:30. So, Catherine,
Sure.
Ali, do you want to say more about the climate summit?
Yeah, I guess just one thing that we were trying to and looking to do is find more students who were interested in participating, which was kind of a major force last year behind the event. And that, was something that, like, as faculty, we want to encourage and have things coming from your perspective. I guess also we're looking for students who are engaged in, EJ work or activism and resistance on campus to kind of join us and talk about their work, because that's a lot of what the students from Columbia will talk about, and kind of maybe figure out a way for you guys to work together, right, is a goal of ours also.
Yeah. Great.
Even if you're involved with like an organization right at City College that you could like link us to or make us aware of or help us connect with, that would be helpful in and of itself. And or if you want to become involved in activism and resistance on campus, right, that would also be great too, because there are opportunities for you to do that. I guess Pam specifically wanted to know if there are any members of CCNY Green on the chat. I know people are heading out too as the program is ending.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So really thank you everyone for your effort today and for the great presentations. We really appreciate everyone being here. Any questions, I will drop my email into the chat. Please reach out to me, but you can reach out to any of us if you have any other. All right, there's Catherine's. If you have any other questions. Is there anything else that anybody would like to adjust before we close? No. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Thank you to the team. Yeah, thank you to the Harlem team for.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
So
Have a good day.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks.